Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. The show just released on Disney Plus and it has been very controversial for a lot of reasons, mostly because of the race swaps and the gender swaps. The show has been described as woke. Now I'm going to be reviewing the first two episodes thoroughly because I did take the time to watch this on Disney Plus, and I just want to let you guys know there will not be any words like woke or DEI anywhere in this entire review. I'm going to be reviewing this fairly and honestly as a huge Spider-Man fan. So again, you will not hear the word woke and you will not hear the word DEI anywhere in this review. Also in this review, I will not be featuring any screenshots or video footage from the TV show, as Disney copyright struck my video last time and took my video down. It blocked it worldwide. So in order to avoid copyrights, no footage whatsoever of Spider-Man, the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, anywhere in this review. So I hope you take the time to watch it and hear what I have to say, and let's get to it. Now, episode 1 is probably the best episode, and that's not saying much about this. We see Peter Parker waking up in his normal life. He's very irresponsible and can't wake up on time to ever go to work or school. Well, school, because he doesn't work yet. We get to see Aunt May, who is young and attractive. She's about somewhere around her early 40s, very good looking. Very similar to Marissa Tomei's Aunt May in the MCU. Now, we don't have a narrator in the show, so Peter Parker talks to himself way too much and it's very distracting, at least in episode 1. Really didn't like that. Now, Peter appears to be a fan of Iron Man. They don't mention him anywhere by name, but we do see an Iron Man keychain in the car, and Peter is really into robotics. Peter's in the car with Aunt May on his way to school because he missed his train. He's irresponsible. Did I mention that already? We also learned that Uncle Ben is long gone. He is not with us in this version of Spider-Man, very similar to the MCU. Although in the first episode we don't know what happened to Uncle Ben, we just know that he is gone. Now when Peter gets to school, he encounters a Marvel Sparkle Circle which appears from the sky. We all know that this is Doctor Strange. Now when this portal appears, a monster falls through the portal and lands right into the ground. We don't know what this monster is, but it does look like some kind of symbiote Clintar monster. A lot of people originally thought this was Kraven as venomized. However, we know that it's not because of the arms and legs. This appears to be a monster. It doesn't look like it's bonded to any human. However, it does have fur around the neck, which is why people suggested or thought that this could be a Kraven monster from the multiverse. We then see Doctor Strange do battle with this monster, and I really like this part of the show. This was a really interesting and fun battle. It doesn't last too long, but we do get to see some really cool stuff. Now, out of this portal, we also see a spider slowly come down through that portal. Now, at the end of this battle, the monster attacks this young girl, which Peter tries to save by throwing a book at this monster. The monster turns around and focuses its sights on Peter, which then gives Doctor Strange enough time to use his Crimson Bands of Cyttorak to wrap up the monster and pull it through the portal. Now, when the portal closes, it cuts the web around that spider, and the spider falls right on the back of Peter Parker's neck. Peter gets to meet this young girl who is Nico Minoru, who is from the comics, or some of the more recent comics, at least in the last decade. And then Peter Parker gets bit in the neck by this spider. Now, Peter Parker never sees the spider bite him in the neck, but it does, and he passes out. Now the stupid theme song of this TV show plays. Now, I'm sorry, I love hip-hop, but this just doesn't fit Peter Parker's Spider-Man. It doesn't match, it doesn't mesh well. I think it works better with Miles Morales, but it doesn't work with Peter Parker. It's very distracting, it just doesn't fit. When Peter wakes up, he has his powers. They don't show him learning how to use his abilities or getting used to them. He's already Spider-Man. We then get to see Peter's homemade suit, which looks absolutely terrible. He's wearing a hockey jersey. The color doesn't even match the rest of his homemade outfit. It made more sense in the MCU because we got the red and blue and we got the hoodie with the Spider-Man logo, but here he's just wearing a hockey jersey and some knee pads. He also has giant web shooters with big tethered cables attached, which looks strange and distracting, and we do see later that they get in the way of his ability to fight. He also has this giant canister attached to his back, which looks ridiculous. This is an animated cartoon and there's no reason for Peter Parker to have such giant tethers to his body for this mechanical suit, or this homemade suit. I just don't get the canisters. They have all kinds of different versions of the web shooters, some smaller, some bigger. But this giant mechanism that he tethers to his body, that big canister on his back, and these giant cables hanging from his arms, looks absolutely ridiculous. We also get to see that Peter Parker is really bad at aiming his webs, but for some reason he's really good at swinging. Now here's one mistake in the animation that really bugged me. Peter Parker is in Queens, New York. If you know Queens, New York, there aren't really any tall skyscrapers or big buildings unless you're in Long Island City. Now from this image, or from this scene, you can see that Peter Parker is shooting his webs into the air and swinging from the clouds. This was very distracting. This really bugged me a lot. As Peter Parker is swinging, he does come across a young man being chased by 3 bullies. This is none other than Harry Osborn. What really bugged me about this scene is that Harry Osborn is famous and he's rich. People know who he is. For some reason, he is being chased by 3 really dorky looking bullies. Like, these are not intimidating bullies whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure that Harry could beat them up himself. For whatever reason, Harry is cornered into a alleyway and attacked by these bullies, who seem to be motivated only by the fact that they want to live stream them beating up Harry Osborn. Why? I don't know. Maybe they want clout for beating up a rich kid. Peter Parker saves the day, beats them up, and we get some really corny, cringe dialogue lines from one of the bullies who yells, "Yo, yo, yo," before he pulls out his camera phone. Really, really cringe. As he's beating up these bullies, Harry takes his own phone out and decides to record himself. Again, we're getting a lot of live streams and a lot of recording. After beating them up, Harry thanks Spider-Man for saving the day and offers to pay him via Venmo. Now we're getting a lot of reference to modern day technology, which is very distracting. We get the live stream of the fight. We get the Instagram recording of Harry's perspective, and then we get the Venmo reference. That really, really bugged me. Back into Peter's everyday life, he meets Pearl in the hallway. Now we find out that Pearl is his longtime childhood crush. They used to grow up in the same building together, and she even babysat him. So we do learn that she's about 3 or 2.5 years older than Peter Parker. Peter Parker wants to ask her out, but he's just too nervous. We go back into Peter Parker again as Spider-Man saving the day. He stops a car from crashing into a bus. And this is in contrast to showing Peter Parker very confident as Spider-Man, where he's very, very insecure as Peter Parker. After saving the bus full of passengers, we go back to Peter Parker, and he has now finally built up the courage to ask Pearl out on a date, but he's too late because we find out that Pearl is dating Lonnie, the high school quarterback. We also get a hint that Nico might be gay, for whatever reason. Now back in the classroom, Peter Parker has to pair up with a partner for a school project. Despite knowing that Pearl has a boyfriend, he decides to try to steal the girlfriend anyway. So he wants to pair up with Pearl for this project, but Lonnie actually suggests to the teacher that he pair up with Peter Parker for this project. This upsets Peter Parker, and he foolishly and almost kind of in a racist way feels that Lonnie wants to work with Peter Parker because he's a stupid jock who wants to use him for his abilities and his knowledge on science. We then find out that Lonnie's not an idiot. He's actually very, very intelligent. He just wants to work with Peter to help him get a little bit smarter. This comes off as racist as Peter Parker kind of talks to him in a really slow way as if he's just some stupid black kid who just wants him to do all the heavy lifting and all the hard work so he can get an easy A, which is furthest from the truth. So the episode later cuts away from Peter Parker and starts to focus on Lonnie as we learn more about his character. As Lonnie's on his way home from school, he gets on the subway. A woman walks by with her child and refuses to sit next to him because he's black. Now, from New York City, this does not happen. I'm sorry. This is completely unrealistic. Lonnie is a smart kid. He looks great. He's got his Letterman jacket, his backpack. He looks sharp. He's got his hair done. He's confident. He's a good kid. So there's no reason why anybody in New York City would refuse to sit next to him on the subway simply because he's black. It just doesn't happen like that. I'm sorry. We then later see that he's walking home from school and the police harass him because he's black, which again is unrealistic. In the modern day, as this show suggests, NYPD is very, very diverse. We have a lot of people of color in the NYPD, and we don't have too many white police officers like we used to 10, 15 years ago. We have a lot of Hispanic, Asian, and Indian police officers, mostly in the NYPD today. So it's just unrealistic that they would follow home a kid who just came from school, who looks like he's part of the basketball team, and just follow him home simply because he's black. I'm sorry, it's just not realistic. When Lonnie gets home, we find out that he lives with his mother and his father, and his little brother as well. And they also suggest that they come from a family who doesn't have too much money, because Lonnie suggests to his mother that he spoke to someone about her car problems, and they might be able to fix it without having to spend money to go to the mechanic. That is realistic, because a lot of people in New York City just don't have a lot of money. And then we get another problem with Spider-Man, because now we cut back to Spider-Man, and for whatever reason, Spider-Man has captured a woman from stealing from a tip jar at a local pizza place. And what does he do? He suggests to the pizza shop owner that they release this woman from stealing because she's just down on her luck. Her excuse for stealing from the tip jar at the pizza shop was that she just lost her job and she's down on her luck and she's really sorry. That's not an excuse for stealing. You don't just lose your job and then steal from a tip jar because you got fired or you got laid off. That's just not what you do. Well, Peter decides, hey, you know what? She didn't mean to do it. She's really sorry. We should just let her go. This infuriated me. Why would you do that? The writers can find a better reason for making an excuse for doing what they do. This was done well in the Sam Raimi universe, I guess, when we find that the Flynn Marko was committing his crimes because his daughter was sick and dying, and he needed to pay for her cancer surgery. But to steal from a tip jar is because you lost your job is just freaking ridiculous. This really pissed me off. Anyway, after that stupid scene, we get a one-to-one recreation of the Civil War scene where Peter Parker meets Tony Stark at home. And I mean one-for-one shot. They recreated the entire scene, even down to him pulling the headphones out of his ears and seeing someone sitting on the couch. Except this time, instead of Tony Stark sitting on the couch, it is Norman Osborn. That is the end of the first episode. Now we can talk about episode 2, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the entire 2 episodes, because not a lot of stuff happens in this second episode. After meeting Norman Osborn, Peter Parker becomes an intern at Oscorp. And again, he uses this as a way to learn more about robotics and use his resources for some new tech. Later on in the show, they actually confirm that Nico does have a crush on Pearl, so she is gay in this show. At Oscorp, Peter meets Amadeus Cho, who sounds familiar. If you know comics, you know who Amadeus Cho is. He also meets a girl named Asha from Wakanda, and another girl named Jean. At Oscorp, this is where Peter meets his new mentor, Dr. Carla Connors. Dr. Carla Connors is now a woman of color in this show. Now, Peter and Nico get invited to a party. However, because Peter is so busy at Oscorp, he doesn't have time to go to the party, but he tries anyway. At Oscorp, Peter's flipping through the channels with his peers and his other fellow interns, and he sees that there is a fire, so he leaves Oscorp to go be Spider-Man and save the day. We get another rare action scene of Peter fighting the Flame. Now, the Flame suggests that he's burning down a building, but it turns out to be the wrong building. This leaves question as to why is the Flame burning down a building and who is he working for? We don't find that out in this episode. We also get to see how impractical Peter's suit is as his tethered cables get caught up in a piece of glass on a window as he's trying to fight the Flame. After defeating the Flame, Peter Parker heads back to Oscorp. Now, when he was doing this, Peter Parker foolishly transformed or changed into his costume in a hallway or in a stairway right underneath a camera. And because of this, Norman Osborn discovers his secret identity as Spider-Man. That is the end of episode 2. Now, episode 2 was very, very boring. Not a lot happens. We don't really get a lot of character development in this episode. Outside of the battle with Flame, there is almost no action whatsoever in this episode. Why does Spider-Man even want to become a hero? In the Sam Raimi movie, for example, we see that Spider-Man gets his powers and selfishly and foolishly uses them to win a car as a prize so that he can impress MJ. And then after being swindled out of his prize, he allows the establishment to get robbed out of spite, which leads to the death of Uncle Ben, which was a sobering moment for Peter Parker. Well, that doesn't happen in this cartoon. We don't really see any motivation from Peter Parker to become a superhero. Outside of the suggested fact that he might be a fan of Iron Man, we don't really get any motivation for this. They don't even mention Iron Man, they just show the keychain. So everything is very subtle. I didn't like that a lot. Peter Parker as a character is very cringe and very, very corny in this show. His dialogue and his line readings are really, really bad. He's extremely awkward and just very cringe. The music in the show is all over the place. Sometimes we get heroic music and some really good soundtracks, and other times they switch back to the hip-hop theme, which doesn't work for the show at all. This show feels more like a teen drama more than a superhero TV show. We don't get to see a lot of Spider-Man. It's very, very boring and very unentertaining. We see more Peter Parker in his daily life than we do see Spider-Man. So far, this show is just not very good at all. The show, described in one word, is cringe. The show is very, very cringe. A lot of people don't like the animation style in this TV show. It didn't really bother me too much. However, because of the animation, the characters' expressions are very unexpressive. We don't get to see too much in the facial features because of the art style. The show has no tension whatsoever. The most tension in this show was Peter Parker missing a party because he was being a superhero. The show has almost no stakes, at least from the first 2 episodes. And it's just not very good. If I have to give those first 2 episodes a 1 out of 10, I would have to say a 3 out of 10. I'm not judging the show based on any of the characters' race swaps or gender swaps. Simply reviewing the show based on its merits. The show is not very good. There's nothing in these first 2 episodes that get you excited to see the next episode. There's more questions left unanswered. Nothing is explained very well. It feels like they're moving things a little bit too fast and skipping things that we should be explaining so we can focus more on other characters. This is just not a good superhero show, and it's not a good Spider-Man show. So far, I can't recommend it, but I'm going to come back to review episode 3. Anyway, I had to suffer through those first 2 episodes, so please, if you enjoyed the video and the review, please hit the likes button, up or down, either one. Doesn't bother me at all. Please leave a comment down below. If you saw this or watched this, please let me know what you thought about it. I much appreciate it. I would love if you subscribe to the channel. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Come back for the next episode as we deep dive into this terrible TV show. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.